What is going on, everybody? UCF Jaguar back here with week 2 of NFL picks, and I am here with my weekly partner on these videos, JetsCentral. JetsCentral, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, man. What's going on? How you doing?
So in case you guys don't know, we are doing picks every week. I know you might not have seen it last week, but that was because it was on JetsCentral's channel. He's going to be doing the picks on his channel during the odd weeks. I will be on the even weeks, so that brings me up on week 2. And we got done with a pretty crazy first week. And the first week is always extremely hard to predict. I did horrible in my picks last week. I finished 6-9-1. What was your picks last week?
Yeah, I mean, I went 10-4-1, but honestly, like, who could have predicted a tie? I mean, that Lions-Cardinals game was crazy. Nobody could have saw that coming.
I was one Arizona to pull it out just to give me kind of an extra win because I wasn't doing very well because like all my picks were just going south. So this week we have week 2, of course. So why don't we get on into it? So the Thursday night football game this week, we have the Buccaneers traveling to Carolina to face on the Panthers. A little bit of an NFC South showdown. Ian, who do you have winning this?
I'm going to go with Carolina. I mean, Tampa Bay, I don't know if you caught any of that San Fran Bucks game. Jameis Winston, he did not look good, and that's an understatement. I mean, the Bucks just stalled completely. And granted, like the Niners, they aren't the best team in the world either. I feel like the Niners were more talented than the Buccaneers, but the Bucks, I mean, they just stunk up the place. Winston was throwing picks left and right. One ended up losing the game. I think he had 2 pick sixes, whereas Carolina – not only are they at home in this one and it's a divisional matchup, I think Carolina's the better team. And they did they held their own against the LA Rams last week. I'm going with the Panthers. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I was at the Jags game, so I didn't catch too much of the Buccaneers game. All I know is that literally my phone was being blown up, my NFL group chat, just about how bad Winston looked. I mean, he threw like 2 pick sixes, and there were a lot of high hopes for Winston, mainly because of Bruce Arians, and a lot of people really like Bruce Arians. I think he's a really good quarterback, guru type of guy. But I mean, yeah, he was awful, and the Bucks basically gave the game away to the 49ers. And the Panthers are a team that I'm high on. You know, I picked them to beat the Rams last week, and I also picked them against the spread last week. In case you guys don't know, we're doing a 3-pack of games against the spread at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. So in this game, I've definitely got the Panthers beating the Bucks at home, and this game I think might be a little bit ugly.
Yeah, I mean, to start the season off with 2 home games, I don't see the Panthers with, I mean, that level of talent starting off the year 0-2. But, yeah, moving on, we got the San Francisco 49ers at the Cincinnati Bengals. Who do you got in this one?
This one is interesting. I mean, I think if this is a week 1 game, I would have picked the 49ers to win. But the Bengals actually looked pretty good last week. I mean, as it stands, Andy Dalton's like the leading passer in the NFL, and John Ross finally had a good game. So they might be a team that could be sneaky good this year. And then the 49ers are just, of course, the Buccaneers gifted them a couple of touchdowns off some pick sixes, and it's a weird team because on paper you look at it and say, oh man, they've got Kyle Shanahan, great coach. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's a great quarterback, and they've got good weapons with George Kittle, Dante Pettis, but they just don't have it all together yet. And in this one, I'm going to go with the home team, the Bengals, to actually beat the 49ers with that home field advantage. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm going Cincy too. I mean, to go into Seattle for your first, game as a head coach and Zach Taylor and to lose by 1 point with no A.J. Green, with no Cordy Glenn, their starting left tackle, with no Jonah Williams either, the first-round draft pick. I mean, Cincinnati held their own against Seattle. It came right down to the wire. And then the 49ers, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo just doesn't look the same. I mean, I don't know if you've kind of have seen what he's really put together throughout the preseason and even week 1, but he just doesn't really look the same. And yeah, the 49ers do have some offensive weapons and whatnot, and I love Kyle Shanahan, still love him, but I'm going with Cincinnati at home.
Yeah, and I don't know if with Jimmy Garoppolo, if it was because I mean you saw him with the Patriots. I mean he was great. Then he got traded midseason and he was spectacular in 2017. But then in 2018 he was down, and in 2019 he's the most down that he's ever been. So I don't I don't know what we're going to be expecting out of him, man. I mean, the NFL is better when quarterback play is better, so I'm definitely rooting for him, especially when I really don't have to worry about him over the NFC. Both of us being AFC guys, so yeah, it's gonna be an interesting matchup. So next up, we have the Chargers traveling to Detroit to face on the Lions. Who do you have this one?
I'm going with LA. I mean, LA is just the better team. They're going to be in the dome in Detroit. I think the Chargers offense is just going to be clicking on all cylinders, even though they've, dealt with some pretty big injuries, with Derwin James and whatnot. Hunter Henry was like, he got up wobbly a few times in the week one matchup against the Colts. And then of course, no Melvin Gordon as well. But nonetheless, I still like the Chargers in this matchup. Detroit, it was just such a disappointing game last week for Detroit. They had the Cardinals beat, and then you let Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray just storm all the way back and tie the game. Just embarrassing. I want Detroit in this game, but I think the Chargers are going to pull it out.
Yeah, and you mentioned Hunter Henry. He's actually out indefinitely. Actually got a pretty big injury, and he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. So, I mean, this team just gets nailed with injuries, and Hunter Henry is starting to turn into a Tyler Eifert with his injury history.
Mm-hmm.
This one, Charger versus Lions. I mean, the Chargers are still just a better team, and Lions, it's a little bit sketch to me. Of course, like I really like T.J. Hawkinson. He went off for like
Yeah.
130 yards and a couple touchdowns last week. I drafted him in like the last round of all my fantasy leagues, and I'm pretty excited about that. But I'm going to go with the Chargers this game just as the better team to beat the Lions.
Yeah, fair enough. So moving on, we got a NFC North matchup. We got the Minnesota Vikings at the 1-0 Green Bay Packers. Who do you got in this one?
This one's interesting because the Vikings played really well last week, and the Green Bay Packers kind of put out kind of a crappy effort. I mean, a lot of people didn't like the Thursday night football game with the Bears and Packers, but I actually like defensive games. I thought the game was entertaining. I thought it was pretty close, and this one, man, I think Green Bay, with a little bit of extra time, they're going to be able to get it together. And I think they're going to find a way to slow down the Vikings. And I'm going to take the Packers to win this one.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go Green Bay as well. I mean, you took all the good points right out of my mouth. Even though I was impressed with Minnesota, one interesting stat was Kirk Cousins only had 10 attempts throwing. I mean, they were just running the ball down Atlanta's throat. Dalvin Cook absolutely balled. But I like Green Bay at home. I really do. I think this Packers team is going to be underrated moving forward. That was actually one of the teams I had, before the preseason as one of my most like teams flying under the radar, and I think that team's going to win the NFC North.
All right, cool, man. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup. I mean, Dalvin Cook went off last week, and it's nice to see kind of him back healthy. But next week we are going to go out into the AFC South as the Indianapolis Colts, led by Jacoby Brissett, will take on the Tennessee Titans. Who do you have this one?
Yeah, man. I mean, both of these teams pretty well. I'm going to go with the Colts. The Colts stormed back late last week against the Chargers, forced OT. Even though the Titans dominated Cleveland, and they're going back home to Tennessee. I actually like the Colts in this matchup. I think Frank Reich's offense going up against Mike Vrabel's defense, it really, really has a lot of it benefits the Colts in a lot of different ways. Even though I like Tennessee more as a team, and I think they're going to do better this season, I got the Colts in this Week 2 matchup.
I got to start picking different from you if I ever want to catch up to you in the overall rankings. But yeah, I mean, I actually have the Colts beating the Titans too. The Titans never play the Colts very well. I mean, hell, when Andrew Luck was out there, I think Andrew Luck was like 12-0 or 14-0 against the Titans. Like, it's just never a good matchup. And the Colts were actually pretty interesting last week. They kept it pretty close with the Chargers, and the Colts offensive line is great. I mean, Marlon Mack went off. And, I think the Titans, they're super up and down, like we were saying kind of last week. One week they'll go out and, whoop up on like the Patriots. Then the following week, they'll play down to a team like the Giants. So with this, yeah, I've got the Colts. I've got the Colts actually winning this one and kind of a sneaky win.
Yeah, man, sweet. So moving on, we got a AFC East matchup. We got the New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins. Who do you got?
I mean, there's really not much analysis here. I'm just gonna make this quick. Patriots win.
Yeah, Patriots win. I mean, the Dolphins I think, are getting 19 and a half points, according to Vegas. And I mean, that should tell you all you need to know. I mean, you never know any given Sunday, obviously. It's why we all love football, but I'm going New England.
Yeah, I mean, Finns are just they are all out tanking pretty much, and players are wanting to get traded, and it's just it's not a pretty scene, and it's for all this to happen week one. I mean, this isn't going to end well. So next week we have the Bills traveling to MetLife to face on the Giants. Back-to-back weeks in MetLife for them. Who do you have winning this matchup?
I'm going Buffalo, man. I'm going Buffalo all day. I think Dallas just dominated the Giants. When you take a look at it, they beat them really on all three facets. I look at the Buffalo Bills. I mean, they were able to hang in with the Jets. They were down early in the game, but they made some great halftime adjustments. Not to mention, I feel like the Bills are not only better coached, but they have more talent on the team as well. They got a better defense. They got a better offense. Pretty much at every position outside of running back, where the Giants obviously have that advantage. But I'm going with the Bills.
I hate you so much right now because I also have the Bills. We are pick for pick right now. This makes for horrible entertainment. We're gonna have half of the NFL fan bases thinking we're haters and
I
that
know.
we're dumb. But I do have the Bills beating the Giants, and the Bills, like, I just feel like they are almost a sleeping powerhouse because I feel like they have everything set. Josh Allen just has to learn how to take care of the ball, and their team just has to play together. I mean, they've got a lot of new additions to the team, so it may take a little bit of time for them all to gel together. But yeah, I'm going to also take the Bills to win this one.
Yeah, man, sweet. So next we got the this is probably going to be one of the better games on the schedule that I'm looking at, looking at the slate right now. We got the Seattle Seahawks at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who are you going with?
With this one, I will have the Cowboys. Oh, not the Cowboys. I'll have the. I was looking at the next game. I'll have the Steelers beating the Seahawks this game. And I know they came off a pretty poor week last week, so this one, I mean, I just feel like they're gonna bounce back. I just can't see the Pittsburgh Steelers losing a lot, and like I feel like Mike Tomlin's a good coach, and he's gonna be able to come back and be able to um, you know coach the team up to win again. I think Ben Roethlisberger is still a good quarterback, and last week I think was a little bit fluky to me. So give me the Steelers to beat the Seahawks.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm actually going with Seattle, but I'm going with Seattle pretty much like because all the same reasons that you alluded to. I feel like they kind of it was like a clunker last week against the Bengals, a team that they're better than the Bengals, obviously, and they were at home. I think Cincinnati maybe caught them off guard a little bit and humbled them, even though Seattle still got the win. Now Seattle goes on the road to Pittsburgh. It's going to be rowdy, and the fans are definitely going to be demanding a W over there in Western PA. But I got Seattle. It's funny too because I feel like this game, like if this game was going down like 3 years ago, this could have been like a Super Bowl preview.
Yeah, I mean, it was honestly pretty disappointing to see the Steelers last week. I mean, I was someone that actually picked them to beat the Patriots, but that didn't happen. And it was also a primetime game, and just there's nothing worse than a bad primetime game, only game on TV, especially when it's the opening Sunday night game of football. I mean, last year the Bears and Packers provided us such great entertainment that they literally put them over the defending Super Bowl champions as an opening Thursday night game. So, yeah, I mean, that was disappointing. But moving on, next week we had the Cowboys traveling to Washington, NFC East showdown, facing off against the Redskins. Who do you have with this one?
Yeah, I'm going Dallas. The Redskins definitely were impressive last week. I actually picked Philly in my 3-pack, right? The top three guarantee whatever against the spread. And it was Philly -8, and the Redskins actually they lost, but they covered. The Skins were actually up early in that game, I believe 17-0 at one point. It kind of caught Philly off guard, and they were playing in Philadelphia as well. But and of course they are back home in this one. But Dallas was so impressive last week. Really, their offense was just on fire. Elliott, Prescott, the O line, the wide receiving core, the whole thing was just amazing, right? So I'm going Dallas again. I think the Cowboys are probably going to end up winning that division.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Cowboys too. I mean, the Cowboys looked really impressive, and we can say what we want about Dak Prescott, but he played tremendous. Ezekiel Elliott's back, so the running game is good. The defense was outstanding. I mean, this really does look like one of the more complete teams in the NFC East, and I'm really excited to see who's going to wind up winning the NFC East, whether it be the Cowboys or Eagles. And I really think that that's going to come down to really like the last week of the season on who's going to be winning that division, as I think, both those teams could finish up like 12-4. So the next week we have the Cardinals traveling to Baltimore to face off against the Ravens. Who do you have with this one?
I'm going to go with the Ravens. The Ravens just destroyed Miami. I mean, they ran them off the field. They were running the ball on them. Whether you're talking about Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, they were just shredding them through the air. Lamar was just throwing just rainbow passes to Marquise Brown all game. Then they ended up putting in RG3 at the end of the game. They were just destroying Miami. Arizona's still a young team. It's going to be Kyler Murray's first away game. It's going to be Kingsbury's first game coaching, away from the desert, Arizona. So I'm going to go Baltimore. They're just, again, more talent. They have way more talent on defense, and Harbaugh is an experienced coach. He's going to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, watching that Ravens-Dolphins game, you must have been really mad that the Jets weren't scheduled against the Dolphins week 1, because I feel that's a perfect game to, get on your schedule first and get a little bit of a confidence in yourselves, even though that may not have worked out great for the Jets last year after they whooped up on Detroit last year in prime time. So, with this one, I mean, I do have the Ravens winning, but I think that the Cardinals could be a sneaky team to maybe win this, especially with, how the Cardinals ended last week's game and how, the Ravens might be coming in like, super cocky, but yet, they still have, I think, a lot to prove. They still need to be able to play consistently. They're not, they have a second-year quarterback in there, a lot of young pieces out there. But I will go ahead and I'm going to take the Ravens to win this one.
Yeah, no, it's all valid points. But next up, we got your Jacksonville Jaguars going to Houston to take on the Texans.
With this one, I'm unfortunately for the second week in a row, I have to pick against the Jaguars. I will pick the Texans just because right now I think the Jaguars have more questions than answers. I mean, the defense was not good last week, so how good really is this defense? We don't have Nick Foles anymore. Gardner Minshew is in there. What's Gardner Minshew going to do? I mean, he went 22 for 25 last week. He played outstanding. He really couldn't have played any better. But, so we've seen him at his ceiling, but where's his floor going to be? What's Romeo Crennel going to do once he actually has, some game film of him out there? So that's interesting to me. And, like, the Texans, they looked really good against the Saints last week. I mean, they played against, like, a top 4 team in the NFC and played against them toe-to-toe. It literally came down to a 59-yard field goal for them to lose that game. So, give me, unfortunately, the Texans to win this one.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually going to take your Jaguars. I look at Minshew, and yes, first game starting on the road against a formidable defense in the Texans. But when I look at the Texans roster and I compare it to last year's games against the Jaguars, I felt like the Jaguars really did their thing against Houston. I think Minshew having the full week to prepare as the starter, John DeFilippo is going to create a really solid game plan offensively. And then I just look at the Jaguars defense, and they just wrecked Houston. Especially last year, they just did their thing on them. Well, was it week 1 that everybody, how many sacks did you guys get week 1 against the in Houston last year?
In 2017, week 1, they got 10 sacks against the Texans week 1, and that wound up leading to Tom Savage being benched and Deshaun Watson playing. But yeah, in 2017, the Jaguars definitely had the Texans number.
Yeah, so 2 years removed, but in any case, I'm gonna go with the Jaguars. I think they're gonna hold Houston. I don't think Houston's gonna score a lot, and then I think on offense they're just gonna be able to put up enough points on offense to win the game. They're not gonna score 40 or whatever it is, but I think they'll do enough.
All right, cool, man. I hope you're right, because man, it'd be so exciting, and especially if Gardner Minshew plays well. I think Jaguars fans will have a lot more, confidence about this year. But next week In the next slate of games, we got the 4 o'clock games. Chiefs traveling to Oakland to face on the Raiders at their Diamond Baseball Field. So who do you have winning this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. They're just too talented. I mean, I really, really like Oakland's team this season. I like their coaching staff, and they obviously they showed out last Monday against Denver. They did their thing, but none. I still like the Chiefs in this matchup big time. I don't. I think the spread. I forget what the spread number is, but I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. Probably. I mean, I think it's definitely going to be high scoring for sure because Gruden has shown in the past that he can move the ball on the Chiefs defense. But the Chiefs defense is going to be different this season because they obviously added some pieces, and some pieces are actually not on the team anymore. But I think the Chiefs will get it done when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, I had to agree with you. And I mean, just seeing the Chiefs last week, like, I really think that the Chiefs are going to have a generational offense this year. I mean, I really do. And it's a shame Tyreek Hill is out, for a few weeks just because, I mean, man, like, I've never seen an offense. I mean, they've got freaking Tyreek Hill's number one. They have Sammy Watkins as a wide receiver, too. Travis Kelce is a damn cheat code out there. I mean, it's just crazy seeing somebody that big be able to play at that type of level. And, like, just seeing Travis Kelce out there, that was a big reason why I was wanting a guy like Hawkinson in the draft so bad, just because it's so hard to find that tight end. Like, I mean, it's hard to find a really good tight end, and there is finding a really good quarterback. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Travis Kelce is on a different level, I think, than Zach Ertz or George Kittle. So the offense is great. The offensive line is really good, and not to mention they have who I think is the best quarterback in the NFL to run that whole thing. So, yeah. With that said, I'll stop jerking the Chiefs off a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Chiefs to win this one.
I feel it, man. All right, so next up we got the Chicago Bears at the Denver Broncos. Who you rolling with?
Man, I mean, neither of these offensive looked very good last week, and this is the return of the Bears' old defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. They're coming to Broncos to face off against him, and I'm going to have the Bears win this one. I think they're going to bounce back. I mean, Denver just looks like they are a little bit talent depleted. I'm just not huge on the Broncos right now, even though, I do like some pieces over there. I love their defensive line. I even like their wide receiver spot. Love Courtland Sutton, but let me get the Bears in a bounce back game with this one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Denver was definitely the most boring outside of Miami, the most boring team that was that put together a game last week. Not necessarily saying that boring is bad, but they're just so lackluster on offense. And yeah, they do have some studs on defense like Harrison Miller and Bradley Chubb, of course. But I think the Bears are just on another level. Honestly, I'm going with Chicago too.
Yeah. So the last of the 4 o'clock games, we have the Saints traveling to Los Angeles to face on the St. Louis Rams of Los Angeles. So who do you have with this matchup?
I'm going to go with the St. Louis Rams of Los Angeles, man. Their offense is so good. They're going to be at home. They went to Carolina last week with the mindset of preserving Todd Gurley, and they still beat Carolina in Carolina. I'm going with the Rams. I mean, yes, the Saints did. They played phenomenal against Houston, but I think with the crowd behind them playing in the Dome, that obviously helped them a lot. I think it might be a little bit of a different story in LA.
Yeah, this is actually a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game. Of course, this game led to an entirely new NFL rule with pass interference calls now being able to be reviewed. So with this one, and I'm going to have the Saints beating the Rams, and if I'm going to take the Jaguars out of the conversation, I mean, the Super Bowl matchup that I'd love to see is the Chiefs versus Saints, because I feel like that would be just fantastic. But yeah, let me get the Saints to roll on and beat the Rams in this game in Los Angeles.
Yeah, man, nice. So next up, we got the Sunday night game. We got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Atlanta Falcons. Who you rolling with?
With this one, I will go with the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles just I mean, they played a close game against Washington, but Atlanta just was bad. I mean, I wasn't watching the game, but I was looking at the scores at the Jag Stadium, and it was like 21-0 and stuff like that. So, and they played against the Vikings, who are good, but they're not like the Chiefs out there putting up points. So, yeah, give me the Eagles, and I think that the Eagles are one of the better teams in the NFC this year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with every point. I think I look at Philly's offense. I look at them playing inside the dome on prime time. Doug Peterson obviously plays really, really well on primetime game or coaches well on primetime games. Atlanta is just there. It was just kind of like a not it wasn't well oiled. Last week's game. It was just they were just incompleting passes. Matt Ryan, I think, got picked off on his first throw. Just sloppy performance by ATL. And yeah, I'm going Philly.
All right, cool, man. So we got Monday Night Football. We have a couple of young quarterbacks facing against each other. The Cleveland Browns, one of the more heavily hyped teams this offseason, versus the New York Jets in MetLife against Sam Darnold. So with this one, who do you have winning this matchup?
Yeah, man, this one's actually pretty tough. I'm going to go with the Jets because, and I've said this from the beginning, I think the Browns are going to take a few weeks to get going. I could see them, maybe around week 8, week 9, when they're, they could be 3-5 or 4-4. Then they go on their nice little winning streak when everything starts clicking. But with Freddie Kitchens at the helm right now, coaching them, it's going to be in MetLife. Honestly, man, because the Browns and the Jets both got absolutely embarrassed week 1, it almost feels like it's a must-win for both teams. Because if the Jets lose, the tabloids are going to go nuts. The fans are going to go nuts. And then same thing with Cleveland, with Baker Mayfield, because they had all that hype and stuff like that. So I'm going to go with the Jets in this one. Even though they're the underdog, I expect the offense to roll a little bit better this upcoming week after a week of, looking over their mistakes that, or what transpired down in Buffalo or against Buffalo rather. So I'm going to go with the Jets, but it could be wishful thinking here, but I'm still going to ride with the squad.
Yeah, and usually every year I always start off and I pick the Jets to win like every game. And, it's always burned me. And I picked the Jets week 1 to beat the Bills, and that one burned me. And for what I saw, the Jets just didn't look very good. I mean, neither did really the Browns. But, I mean, with this game, I just think the Browns are more talented. And it's going to be interesting. I really hope this is a good close game, and I hope we actually see some good quarterback play because, both these guys were – with Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall pick in 2018, Sam Darnold, number 3 overall pick in 2018. So, hopefully we have some good quarterback play, and I'd like some scores this game. So, let me get the Browns to actually beat the Jets on Monday Night Football.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I mean, the one thing I do feel like Cleveland has working in their favor. Number one, obviously they are more talented than the Jets, but Odell, Jarvis Landry, and Njoku, the whole entire plethora of weapons that Cleveland has going up against the Jets corners, it could be an absolute nightmare. I mean, Trumaine Johnson looks horrible, and now you're factoring in OBJ to the mix, so that's pretty much my one big concern that I have with the Jets. But we also have the three-pack of games where we kind of pick against the spread. Who are your top 3, the locks of the week, I guess?
My 3, we have the Patriots as 18-point favors against the Dolphins. Seeing what the Dolphins put out last week, I mean, I'm taking the Patriots to cover this spread. I have 18. I know you had like 19.5. This is on ESPN, so I'm going with this number, 18. And I also have the Chiefs against the Raiders are giving the Chiefs 7 points. I'm taking the Chiefs to take that over all day. I think that the Chiefs could just destroy the Raiders and just their offense. It's so hard to go punch for punch with these guys. And lastly, the Eagles versus Falcons. The over-under is at 51 points. So let me hit the over on that one. I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game, and I'm going to go with these 3 picks as my picks against the spread.
Yeah, man, sweet. So my 3 are I like the Buffalo Bills -1.5 at New York Giants. I just think, like I said before, they're a much better coach. They have way more talent. They're just a better overall team. The Bills literally played last week at MetLife Stadium, so they're kind of used to that crowd. I got Buffalo. I mean, the Giants they're just not that good of a team. Number 2, I like Philly -2 in Atlanta. I mean, we both had the Eagles winning. At least for me, I mean, I don't think as far as your view on the game, do you think that Philly's going to win by less than 2 points? Like, do
I
you think
mean,
they're going to win by 1 point or at
I,
least a field goal?
I mean, I had this game as a total point total, but I mean, I would probably think the Eagles win by more than that. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
safe bet.
Yeah, because I mean, you got to figure if they hit a game-winning field goal, they're going to cover the spread. So twos are always, when the spread's always like 1.5, 2. I always really, really like to kind of, dig my heels in on one side or the other because those are always just weird numbers. And then number 3, I like the Seahawks +4 in Pittsburgh. I mean, I have the Seahawks winning outright, so I definitely like them with the points. It's more than a field goal, so going Seattle +4.
So last week I was 1-1-1 with my picks against the spread. I had the Panthers, hitting the +3 last game, and they wound up losing by 3. So that's kind of a tie for me. Where were you at last week?
I think I was at 2-1. I know for a fact I had I lost the Eagles game because I had Eagles -8.5 against Washington. I had the Chiefs -4 against Jacksonville, so I got that one. And the other one's kind of slipping my mind. I'll remember in a second, though.
All right, cool, man. So that was our weekly picks. Of course, if you guys don't know JetsCentral, I'm sure you guys do, but if not, man, subscribe to his channel. His channel link is right down below. We're going to be doing the picks next week on his channel, and we're going to keep doing this all the way through to the end of the season. So excited for another week of NFL football, man. Week 1, you always learn a lot. Week 2, you learn even more. And then, pretty soon we're going to pretty much have the book out on all these teams. So thank you for joining me today, and good luck to your Jets.
Yeah, man. Same for you, and I appreciate being on. And, so week 3 is going to be on my channel. Then week 4 is going to be back on your channel, obviously. And like you were saying before, odd numbers, my channel, even numbers, your channel. So just so everybody kind of knows. So, yeah, thanks again.
All right, man. Later.
Peace.